ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. Welcome to class 4 of Bhagavad Gita for modern humans. We are taking a different route. Bhagavad Gita, there are 700 shlokas, 18 adhyayas. There are multiple shlokas which are very famous, but we are kind of taking a different step. Some good thought provoking sentences or thought provoking concepts I have taken from each adhyaya and I have put into a presentation, and that's what we discuss. So today class 4 will discuss adhyaya 7 Jnana Vijnana Yoga, 8 Akshara Brahma Yoga, 9 Raja Vidya Rajaguhya Yoga. If I put it into words, it's experience, science and secret. So experience or observations by a sadhaka, and then what is the science behind it, and secret. Secret does not mean there is any secrecy, but it's basically an extension of science. What we experience around us. So at the physical level, the whole world can be divided into 8 states according to Bhagavad Gita. Adhyaya 7, Sri Krishna says the whole tangible world or intangible world, basically physical or gross world, that is divided into Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash, Man, Buddhi and Ahankara. And Sri Krishna called it Apara Prakriti. So it is part of the Prakriti, but it is Apara, which is physical in nature. And then there is Para Prakriti, which is all the jivas, all the life beings. It is not only limited to animals or birds or small creatures or bacteria, viral, those type of beings or plants, but even our earth, all the planets, the stars. On earth there are mountains, rivers. So everything exhibits some kind of activity as if it's alive or it is a life being, and that's what Sri Krishna told as Para Prakriti or Jiva. So everything has a Jiva. So if we look at Apara Prakriti, modern science has some similarity. If you recall science of the grade 5 or 6 or maybe 7, it talks about 4 different states of an object: solid, liquid, air and plasma. Solid, liquid, air, these are the most famous one. We don't deal with plasma. So for us, for all good purposes, what we experience can be divided into 3: solid, liquid and air or gaseous. Now if we extend plasma, so if we try to make a comparison here, so what Sri Krishna considered Prithvi is all solid in the modern scientific term, and what Sri Krishna referred to as Jal is all liquid form. What is referred to as Agni is plasma. What is referred as Vayu is air or gaseous. What is referred as Akasha is space. Now science does not consider space as a different state, but beyond 4 states, solid, liquid, air and plasma, there are various different states. They call it super solid state or super cooled state, Bose-Einstein condensate. There are various names and they have different characteristics. So they all consist of space. But Bhagavad Gita, in Sri Krishna, goes beyond that and says there are 3 more states or 3 more divisions of the world: Mana, Buddhi and Ahankara. Now science does not differentiate or does not consider there is any universal mind or manas, or there is universal buddhi or intelligence, or there is universal ahamkara, the notion of being self or notion of existence or consciousness. But very recently I came across an article, I forgot the scientist's name, but he proposed there are quantum states and there is a quantum superposition. So he went beyond that and he proposed a new theory called QMM, quantum memory matrix. So per this theory, what this scientist is advocating is every particle in this universe has memory. Memory is to record event, what happens at any given moment. Those particles store that information. So when we think about physical memory, let's say there is Grand Canyon. Millions of years back there used to be ocean or there used to be a grand river, and that created that canyon. So we can consider the canyon is kind of a memory, but that memory is result of some other action. But here what we are talking about is the action itself is stored. So the act of creating canyon, it is not stored in Grand Canyon. But this scientist says that at the quantum level, the very act of creating those canyons, those actions are also recorded as part of this quantum memory matrix. So when we talk about actually this theory is a parallel between what Sri Krishna said is universal mind, manas. And manas, if you look at the property, what it does, it stores all the information, it stores all the events that are happening. Even in our brain, the portion that stores the memory, we call it manas, and the portion that uses this memory and acts upon it or does some action, that we call buddhi or intelligence. And though the quantum theory stops at mind or memory, but we can surely say that if there is a galaxy and galaxy has some actions happening, there are stars interacting, so there is some intelligence at play here. As simple as there is a river. If the river swells because of flooding, what happens? It finds its path. We can explain it, oh, it's just gravity and this and that. But again, there is some subtle intelligence as part of this act. So all these actions that are governed via some intelligence, and that's what Sri Krishna called buddhi. So there is, at the universe level also, there is buddhi, intelligence, and ahamkara. So this is what our shastras say. When there was nothing, not even emptiness. Emptiness is a notion of having something and without that. So even beyond that, beyond the emptiness, there was, we cannot say something or nothing, but there was, for practical purpose, we consider there is something, and that something had a notion of existence. So that is universal ahamkara, and that ahamkara created this whole universe. This ahamkara at our individual level is also present, because I am different from you, you are different from me. So this feeling, this observation, or this action, so to speak, is because of ahamkara. Ahamkara does not mean it just being proudy or arrogant. It's just that we consider ourselves as a separate entity from this universe. So that is ahamkara. So if we look at earth, or if we look at the sun and earth, they are not one. We also perceive them differently. Even at the earth level, sun is different. At the sun level, earth is different, because their interaction of gravity and all is separate and different. But they are part of the same space-time fabric. So sun being a different entity itself, sun does not consider earth as part of it. Otherwise the earth would be an extension and we would be experiencing that, and that is not happening. So we can say that earth has a notion of ahamkara, sun also has notion of ahamkara. So everybody, every entity in this world at the physical level has ahamkara, and that's when all this dance starts. So dance of universe. If we look at it this way, when we go to a theater, we watch a movie, so that movie is projected onto screen. That projection has to happen. There is a film reel, or maybe nowadays DVDs or Blu-rays, whatever they use, that's a medium, but that medium has to be projected via light or some mechanism. So what is that method in this world? That is ahamkara. Ahamkara projects as different entities. Ahamkara projects this universe within us. Universe is outside, but we are part of it. But that projection happens because of ahamkara. If there is no ahamkara, there is no universe, there is no world. So we can, in other words, we can say ahamkara is potential energy, that there is a possibility, and that possibility can be evoked via certain actions. So ahamkara, when it is mixed with intelligence is grand design. When it mixes with that, it tries to project, and that projection is this universe. So these are at the grand level what Sri Krishna considered as manas, buddhi and ahamkara. Maybe someday scientists will start giving theories on buddhi and ahamkara also. Now many scientists, with the advent of quantum computers, they already started thinking about conscious computer. Is it possible to create consciousness in quantum computers? So they are experimenting with that. So maybe one day they'll be able to explain what is consciousness, what is ahamkara. And beyond all these 8 different states is jiva. So English word consciousness is an attribute of jiva. Jiva is not just consciousness. So everything that we saw thus far, the 8 different states, they are part of Prakriti. Sri Krishna call it apara Prakriti. So when apara Prakriti is covered, that covers something which we call Atma or Atman, self. When that sheath is created, that becomes Jiva, and because of that, all these 8 different states, all the dance happens. So everybody of us, we have different dances to play, and that is the reason for the clash, because my dance is the best your dance is not. So that creates conflict. But what Sri Krishna says, so those 8 states, the Prakriti, can be also divided into 3 major groups: Sattvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika. So what is Sattvic? It is pure. All the good things we see in certain people or certain beings or certain objects is Sattvic, pure. Now, how can we say something is Sattvic? There is whole adhyaya devoted to all this, explanation of all these 3 Prakritis, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, and even other attributes like Shraddha, Vishwas, various actions, karma. They can also be divided into 3 different Prakritis, and that is in Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. So there are 2 adhyayas completely devoted to explaining this threefold Prakriti. Sri Krishna, though Prakriti is within Sri Krishna, Sri Krishna is not in Prakriti or Prakriti is not in Sri Krishna. It just is created from Sri Krishna. It is just an attribute. Just like milk. When we look at milk, it is white. So being white is an attribute of milk. Milk does not have to do anything. When we look at milk, our interaction with milk creates this color white for milk. Just like that, when we interact with God or certain entities, that is part of God. Those threefold Prakriti attributes create certain notion. Even for God, even for Sri Krishna, we give various attributes like he looks like this, he has such hair, complexion, he holds flute, and he has peacock feather and all that. So all these are attributes because we look at Sri Krishna. Many Rishis have described that we say Sri Krishna is black, Ghanashyama. But is he really Ghanashyama? Well, as a body, when he was born, he might be of that complexion. But what about his original form, Narayan form? That is also Ghanashyam? They say no. It's just that it's very bright. Even millions of sun cannot compare that illumination, that light. So because of that light, we get dazzled. And because of that, we see that the form is black or dark. Otherwise not. So we do not know real complexion. It's just our interaction with Maya, the Prakriti, tells us that he is Ghanashyama, but he is not. Just like Kali. Kali is also. Kali and Krishna, many traditions, especially Dasha Mahavidya, they consider Sri Krishna and Kali the same. It's just different aspect. So both are Shyama, darkest of the dark. But it's just our perception. They are not in reality because they have lot of light or glow around them. So it's all because of our interaction with Prakriti that attributes is seen. But ultimately Sri Krishna is attributeless. There cannot be any attribute. Because Sri Krishna is not in Prakriti, Prakriti is not in Sri Krishna. So he is above or beyond all this. And to explain that, what Sri Krishna said, when we drink something or eat something, there is taste. So that taste is like me. When we eat, that object, that food object, interacts with our tongue, saliva, and creates some sensory signals to mind, and that creates a notion that this is sweet versus that is sour. So what is sour, what is sweetness? That is Sri Krishna. if we look at sun or moon, there is light. So this light is also Sri Krishna. Now, can we explain what is light? Maybe yes, not fully though, but we say that it's a collection of photons, or it's a stream of photons. But those photons also have some attributes. They also have electromagnetic properties. They also have, they do not have weight, but they have some properties like that, the physical property. But is that Sri Krishna? No, that is beyond. This is just an explanation that, like sun has light, moon has light, though it is reflected, but still it has light. So just like that, I am, this is my interaction with you, but I am even beyond that, is what Sri Krishna tries to say. Like sound, sky has sound. Now this might seem little awkward, because if we go beyond atmosphere, there is vacuum, even though there are some particles, but mostly it's vacuum. Vacuum cannot create sound waves. So why sky has sound? So if we must consider that this sky, the word here is not avkasha, it's akasha, which is within the atmosphere. So that can create sound. Certain sounds we can hear, certain we cannot. Does not mean the sound does not exist. It is always there. It is just the waves. Then there is, if you see somebody's strength, a being or an object, that strength is also Sri Krishna. Then there is pure fragrance. So earth, soil, when a soil is dry and rain starts, so at that time, whatever that smell is, it is pure fragrance, and that is Sri Krishna. Life, and then there is fire. Okay, fire also has light, just like sun and moon. It is again a state of plasma, so that is light. Light is also like Sri Krishna. It just happens. If there is fire, it has to have light. Without light, there is no fire. Then life force in animals. When an animal is alive, we can say that animal is alive. When animal is dead, the body is same, circulatory motion might be happening for few minutes to few hours. The breathing may also be happening at very subtle level. Even artificially we can resuscitate, give that air breathing. Brain might be functioning for a couple of seconds, but something is not there. So that is life force or prana, and that is Sri Krishna. There is penance of ascetics. So many sadhaks, they follow tapa. They try to burn various energies, or at physical level also they try to burn their body by doing fasting or doing certain yogic activities. So these are all tapas, and that is ultimately to control mind. So that tapa is also Sri Krishna, because if somebody walks on that path, whatever happens is Sri Krishna. Then eternal seed of all. If we look at any plant, it grows from seed. That seed must have come from fruit of similar plant. So if we try to trace back, ultimately it comes to earth. Earth has soil, it has water, it has air, and interaction of all that might have created the first seed. We are talking about one cell life beings, and that one cell life being might have come from certain ingredients. So ultimately the seed comes from earth, but earth that comes from the same cosmic cloud that gave birth to other planets and sun. So can consider that cloud as a seed. If you look at this enormous vast universe, even the cloud might be billions of kilometers wide, still it's a seed, small seed, tiny seed. And maybe that cloud must have come from some other entity, and we can call it the universal seed, and that must have come from something that is even beyond this universe. So the eternal seed, eternal meaning that seed does not stop, this seed always exists. So that is Sri Krishna, because everything is created from him and everything goes back to him. So that cycle keeps continuing for years and years. That is also explained in many of the Upanishads, especially Atharvashira Upanishad. Even Sri Krishna touches that at one of the adhyayas. We will go over that. So the first seed, the Big Bang, that seed has come from the previous universe, and Markandeya Rishi is from that universe, is what our Shastras say. So this universe where we exist, that comes from seed of a past universe, and that past universe, when it was destroyed, whatever remained, that was the seed. And Markandeya Rishi is from that universe or cycle. And the Mahamrutyunjaya mantra, that also talks about it. So when Mahamrutyunjaya mantra says Urva Rukamiva, so that fruit, when we look at cucumber or khira, it has many seeds. When it is ripened on the vine, those seeds kind of floats in the air and goes into various directions, and they all create new vines. So when this universe, everything goes back to Sri Krishna, whatever remains, it just kind of destructs itself, explodes. Then various seeds that are also part of this universe, they are kind of going into various directions, and these seeds will create new universes. So that's how this cycle keeps continuing. And Mahamrutyunjaya says that I want to be eternal like that, because I come from my parents. My parents must have come from my grandparents. Like that, the cycle keeps continuing. Similarly, my son or daughter, and their continuation. Maybe somebody might not have any child. It does not mean that that cycle has stopped. Only for that particular lineage or that particular family, it has stopped. But humanity itself, it keeps growing, or it will keep continue growing. If we look at many animals around us, some species have vanished because of our actions. They must have taken birth as maybe new animals, or maybe humans, because some humans also we call them, I mean, we can call them like human attributes or animal attributes. So, well, it is bad to say, but many humans behave like animals. And I have a theory that because it is their first human birth, they don't know how to behave as humans. So they must have come from those species which are extinct now. So basically the cycle continues. This form, this human form or some other form, the cycle will continue. And that eternal seed is Sri Krishna, intelligence of wise. A person being wise is known by his or her intelligence. So that intelligence is Sri Krishna. Then brightness of bright objects. Any bright object like light or even the screen. These are lights, various lights or brightness. So these are all attributes. Basically the attributes are Sri Krishna. Then I cannot read properly. It says force without desire. So force can be of two types. There is a purpose which can be good or bad, and there is a force that can be without any purpose. So when we talk about gravitational force, Earth has gravitational force. Is it happening because some deliberate action done by Earth? No. It just is there. Earth does not have to do anything. And even it's not a force, it just, we call it as a force. When we go up above the sky, we fall down. That's why we call it force, but it's not a force. And even science proves that. It's just that we feel that we are going down. It's opposite. We are not going down, but Earth is coming up to us. But we feel that we go down. It's hard to understand or hard to digest. But ultimately, when an object falls because of gravity, it's not that it's falling. It's the other way around. That bigger object is coming closer to it. And it's because there is a space-time curvature. And that curvature is 4-dimensional. The 3-dimensional space, let's say Earth, it is contracting space from all the directions. It is also contracting time. And that is very much evident in GPS. We all have GPS in our phone. When it talks to satellite, the satellite signals, those signals travel some 36,000 kilometers. So they experience what Einstein mentioned as theory of relativity. So the clock that is on the satellites is approximately 36 microseconds behind. It is in the past. So any unit on the Earth that gets that signal has to adjust the clock over the period of time. By every second, there is a difference of 36 microseconds. So that adds up eventually, and they have to correct that clock. Even though satellite is there, we can see it. Maybe take telescope. When we look at it, we see it at our times, right? The light coming from the satellite must be falling on our eyes at the same time. The device, the smartphone, also sees the satellite at the same time. Satellite versus us, we both are in present in some time frame, but those satellites are actually 36 microseconds in past. What we see, those satellites, is their past, not present. We cannot experience that. Maybe when we look at some star which is billions of light years from here, that means that star might not exist today at this time, but we still see it as if it exists. So it's all, that's why Adi Shankaracharya said, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Even though this is solid, everything, I can see everything, but ultimately it's my mind that is projecting. It's ahankara that is projecting via my mind. I feel real. We do not experience the unreal nature because we are close. We are probably very close in space-time. But object, if we are apart, maybe I am here and you are on a different star, then we'll understand that, okay, space and time is not the same for us. Is it possible to reach star? Maybe not. But what science says, let's say there is a source. From source, two light rays emanate in two different directions. They have to be exactly opposite. If evolves from the same source, they have to be opposite. Let's say after billions of years, they both are at a different points in the universe. billions of years apart. One particle of light at one particular space, if it experiences something, say somebody use electromagnetic force, so if that light deflects in direction A, instantaneously the sibling will move in exactly opposite direction, even though they are billions of years apart.
It's the rotation of electrons.
It's not the rotation, it's even bigger than that. See, nothing can travel at faster than speed of light, and speed of light is 300,000 km per second. These two particles are billions of years apart, though they are from the same source. They are billions of years apart, so they cannot exchange information greater than the speed of light. It will take billions of years from this information to reach there. Still, this happens instantaneously. One gets affected by some force, the other instantaneously, equal and opposite. How that happens? Sri Krishna says, everything is within me, everything is from me. You are not different. So all these particles are not different. They are the same particles. We see them as different, but they come from the same source, Sri Krishna. And so scientists explain it this way. There is aquarium. In aquarium, put a fish, and imagine that there are cameras in all the different directions. There are 4 horizontal sides, 2 up and down, 6 cameras. So if it moves in forward direction, how all the cameras will see? A camera from the side will see it goes from right to left. Opposite will see it goes from left to right. And the camera that is up will see it as if it went into a very different direction. The front camera will see it as it just gets bigger and bigger. It will not see the motion. So all the cameras see it differently. Fish is the same. Still, the cameras, because they have different perspective, different space-time, they see it differently. So we are, because of our ahamkara, we are projected as different. That's why we see the reality different, but it's the same. And that's how God, Sri Krishna, connects with all of us, because everything came from him. So if something happens to one particle, Krishna knows what happens to the other particle. So we have billions of particles within us. So Sri Krishna knows each and every cell of our being. So he can control whatever the way he likes. But he does not control, because he is above Prakriti. He is beyond all these states. The states are just attributes of Prakriti, and that Prakriti is just because Sri Krishna had a sankalpa to have something, the universe. And Yoga Vasishtha put it as a dream. We are dream of Sri Krishna, or Sri Krishna is just the name given by us. When he was born on earth, he was given this name. But what is his name? He does not name himself, or she does not name herself. It's just our label. So God God has a dream, and because of that dream itself is Prakriti or Maya or Adi Shakti, and that is within Sri Krishna, and because of that this whole world is created. And Sri Krishna says it is very hard to cross this threefold Maya. We cannot cross. We are all entangled within this Maya. The only way to overcome, the only way to understand is surrender yourself to me. Complete surrender. Every action because of me, every result, give it to me. Total surrender. Then only you will be able to cross it. And that is the bhakti, the ultimate bhakti that we think of or we can talk about. So for a gnani, everything is Sri Krishna, everything is God. For Vignani, everything is God, but everything is because of God. So there is a slight difference. So Sri Krishna says, become a Vignani, not Gnani, because Gnan is dry. You have to be Vignani. So everything is because of me, and everything is within me. So surrender to me and I'll show you what is beyond it. So here, not maybe here, but in some other adhyaya, he says that when somebody gets mukti, liberation, well and good, he or she is out of this birth and death cycle, and there is joy in that. But that joy is not even iota of what the joy of a bhakta. A bhakta also is a gnani. Bhakta knows everything is God, everything is within God, and everything is because of God. And he surrenders, or he or she surrenders to me completely. And that bhakta becomes one with me. So now mukti does not mean we become one with God. Only bhakta with gnana. Ultimately, any bhakta gets that gnana. Only bhakta can be one with God, and joy of that is enormous. So Sri Krishna says, such bhakta are dear to me, and there is no difference between that bhakta and me. I am dear to them, those bhaktas, and those bhaktas are very much dear to me. Though gnani can be liberated, I am equally happy. But when it comes to bhakta, that bhakta is me, is what Sri Krishna says. So, and that's why I say multiple places Sri Krishna says that these are not different paths. Though they seem different, but you have to follow fourfold path: Gnana, Karma, Kriya and Bhakti. You have to have all four, and that package is what I represent, or that package is what I am. Because Sri Krishna is unmanifest, even I wouldn't say unmanifest, he is beyond manifestation. When the world is created, we can say the world is manifested, all the beings are manifested, and world is destructed, everything goes back to unmanifested entity. If we look at black holes, the way we get the description is, when the light enters black hole, nothing comes back. If there is no light, I cannot see you, you cannot see me. We become unmanifested without light. So black hole is that. Whatever falls, or actually whatever is covered by black hole, light does not come back, so information does not come back, so that becomes unmanifested. But Sri Krishna is even beyond that. Manifestation or unmanifestation, that is just because of Prakriti, but Sri Krishna is even beyond that. It is very hard to understand, but well, we have to surrender to Sri Krishna to understand this. And And Krishna also says, I know past, present, future of everyone, because past, present, or future, that is also a dimension, time. We just look at the example of GPS, that satellite is 0.036 second, meaning 36 microsecond, is in the past. So when we look at it, we don't feel that it is in past. We very much see it. It feels real. So it is just in a different dimension. The dimension is different, like our length, width, depth. So all these notion and time. So time we cannot feel. That's why we say that even though it is a dimension, we cannot experience it. So, but Sri Krishna, because every single iota of this universe is coming from Sri Krishna. Time, that is also part of it. Kala, that's how we name it. Kala is also part of that. And that's how Sri Krishna knows past, present, and future of each and every particle. Now, very interestingly, modern physics proves that because there is time, because there is Kala, there is space. It is not the other way around. For us, space is the reality. For us, time is not, because we always live in present. But it is the other way around. Because there is time that flows in one direction, a forward direction, it created this space. And our Shastras say that Kala, Mahakal, because of Mahakal, this whole world came into existence. And that's how we worship Shivlinga, because that represents that Mahakala aspect of God. Because of that, the Prakriti, that is Yoni, in interaction of Kala and Prakriti, created this universe. And that all came from Mahakala, which is God. And Sarpa, that is kind of connected with all this aspect, is Ahamkara, that represents Ahamkara. And that Ahamkara is present in every one of us as Kundalini Shakti, is what Raja Yoga would tell us. So these are all interlinked. And when we pour milk on Shivlinga or any liquid, because the first thing that came into existence is Apaha. Apaha is liquid. It's not like water or some other drink or anything, but anything that is in liquid form, it is Apaha. So first thing that was created was Apaha, and that's why we pour milk over Shivling to represent the creation, that moment. And in our body, people who follow Raja Yoga, there is Kundalini Shakti that becomes aware of its existence, Jagrata, and flows through Sushumna. And when in Brahmarandra there is Amruta dripping, when it drinks that nectar, that is the creation, and that represents Shivling in our body and how we worship it. So that is the moment of creation. That's how the universe is created. And Sri Krishna says, well, worship with awareness. When we pray to God, we are not aware. Our mind is somewhere. Many times we might be feeling that we can focus. Maybe there is arti going on. We can focus maybe a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Then our mind wanders, comes back. So if we do it with awareness that we are little bit detached from this act of worship, that's what Sri Krishna recommends. Do that. Surrender steadfastly. So if you surrender, do not waver. Sometimes when we sit, we pray to God, at that time we surrender, but the next moment when we go out, we are back to our life. We forget about surrendering to God. So Sri Krishna says, don't do that. Each and every moment of your life must be filled with my bhakti. Imbibe in knowledge. Knowledge here does not mean the knowledge that we consider, but knowledge here is knowledge of God, that everything exists because of Prakriti, and that Prakriti is the attribute of Sri Krishna. So that is knowledge. Merge with Krishna as supreme. We are Atman, but we have to merge. We must be one with Sri Krishna, Paramatma. And that is also the goal of Ashtanga Yoga. When we talk about Samadhi, Samadhi is being one with Paramatma or Parabrahma or God. So when we develop all these qualities, and that can only be achieved via practice. It's hard to do. I mean, Arjuna asked, you said this, you said that, but how can I do that? Then Sri Krishna says, practice, 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 keep doing, and eventually you will follow whatever I am saying. And what should we follow? Worship with awareness. Surrender steadfastly, always. Imbibe in knowledge, knowledge of God. And merge with Krishna as supreme. So all these things can be achieved in this lifetime if we keep practicing. Very much possible. Now, there is one important aspect Sri Krishna said here is, he is bestower of fruits of worship to any deity one likes. When we worship Adya Shakti, Jagdamba, if we don't consider her as the supreme, then that particular form becomes different one. When we worship Ganesha, if we don't consider Ganesha at that time as supreme, Ganesha is different from supreme. When we pray Mahakal, but not considering as supreme, that is a difference. It is not supreme anymore. So Sri Krishna says, all these bhaktis, ultimately I am the bestower of the fruit of that bhakti, but that is worldly bhakti. Maybe I have some court case going on, so I pray Hanumanji, hey Prabhu, do something for me. I pray to Hanumanji and my case is solved. So ultimately it comes from Sri Krishna or God. But because I pray to Hanumana as different from Supreme, different from Krishna, whatever I did was for some worldly gain, some other benefit. But when I consider that as supreme, will I be praying for court case? No. If I consider Hanumanji as supreme, can I pray him to solve my court case? No. I will be praying for becoming one, to have complete surrender, bhakti, and be one with Supreme. So that's how the worship has to be. So even though the fruits can come from, the fruits come from Paramatma, Parabrahma, but we must worship with awareness that we are worshipping Supreme. So that's how our bhakti should be. So I think we can stop here. Any question or things we need to discuss? Or we are good? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.